I want to talk about that a little bit. We've done shows before about MAPS. Do you remember? Minor attracted persons and non-offending minor attracted persons and pro-contact minor pedophiles. They don't like being called pedophiles because they're pedophiles, and what they really are is child sex abusers. Some are practicing, some non-practicing. I used to make this definition. I'm sure there are ones that struggle all their lives and don't do anything, but fuck them. Fuck them. I don't care. I really don't give a fuck. The pedophiles, can't trust them. You cannot trust them. And why are they all over Twitter? And I know they used to be on Tumblr. And then Tumblr banned all kinds of erotic and pornographic images. So they all turned up on Twitter. But why Twitter? Why was that possible? Well, I kind of looked into this a little, and with the help of some amazing people, by the way, on Twitter, including Ripex or Nutmeg, Dr. M, Sarah Fillmore, and more. You know, I when we do the podcast on this, where it's much more in depth, I will be giving credit to all the people that have helped me out so much with information. And Dr. M's Twitter feed is just incredible for information. It's overwhelming, is what it is. So, how did they come to be on Twitter? Well, you see, a letter was sent to Twitter with various psychologists, always my favourite people, very knowledgeable psychologists, who recommended that they be allowed to go on there and congregate because they could support each other to be non-offending. A platform that allows minors is obviously an ideal place to allow paedophiles to congregate, because as we know, we do that with alcoholics. We put them in breweries to hang out, don't we? Go there, look at all this beer, lads. Don't touch it. Don't touch the beer, but you've got to be here. That's fine. Now, the main guy that put this together, and I'm choosing my words very carefully this evening. I may be a little more forthcoming on that upcoming podcast, but that's a way off. But it's so hard to stay calm when you talk about these things. The main guy is James N. Cantor. There he is, Dr. Cantor. Very gender critical, very popular with a lot of gender critical people who might not be aware of his support for minor attracted persons. He was the one that got the letter together, got everyone to sign it. He was the first signee, and he's the one that proposes that, you know, non-offending minor attracted persons, they just have a different sexual orientation to us, and, you know, they're non-offending, we must support them. Sexual orientation. It's not a sexual orientation, is it? It's a dysfunction. It's a mental illness, because there is no sex of child. There is male, there is female. If you want to have sex with children, you're mental. You know, and they say, oh, well, you know, they used to persecute gay people. And no, don't do that. Don't do that, because gay people don't want to rape kids. Now, I'm corrected quite often, but I'll come back to that because it is important. When someone told me about James Cantor, and I've looked into it, and I said, we'll just go into it lightly tonight because it gets very dark with all of this. He's on the board of an organisation called Prosthesia. Prosthesia, there they are. They're a new kind of child protection agency. They are helping to fund sound scientific research on child sexual abuse prevention. They're engaging with diverse stakeholders whose voices are not normally heard. Pedophiles. Addressing the human rights impact of child protection laws and policies. They want to let kids fuck grown-ups. I'm probably going to get sued now. They certainly pose it as, we don't want, you know, teens who are underage that have sex with each other being prosecuted. That's their only concern. Communicating the results of our research and engagement to the policymakers, platforms, and the public. There are no child protection experts on the board of Prosthesia. Indeed, I believe one of their main experts is a nanny. A nanny. That's it. And talks about kinky sex a lot on Twitter, which is what I like my child protection experts to talk about.
Mate, I love kinky nannies, but maybe not in that environment, doing that job.
Now, these people... Okay. Jeremy Malcolm is one of the main guys at Prosthesia, and he's a top bloke. Do you remember I mentioned Sarah Fillmore before when I said thank you for all this? She was the lady that was on the debate, which took place between Sarah and a trans activist, and she's a solicitor, or a barrister, sorry, and here in the UK. She mentioned about Prosthesia's slightly dodgy position. How did they respond? Blackmail! Blackmail! They tried to blackmail her. This is from Jeremy Malcolm, and I've had permission to read this out from Sarah, not from Jeremy. Sorry, Jeremy. Don't care. Jeremy said, I noticed that you have falsely characterised my private correspondence with you as constituting some kind of blackmail threat, which it self-evidently is not. As you are someone who thought nothing of doxing someone using information from an unethical mugshot website, what would be illegal under UK law? One of their employees had a mugshot up because it's a fucking sex offender. And she went, it's a sex offender. They got very annoyed because it's unethical. Unlike having a sex offender at a child safety organisation, which is perfectly ethical and normal. It's normal. It's what they do. To be fair, it is. It is what seems to be happening, but it's not right. I can understand why you might have assumed that we would stoop to using similar tactics. I had no intention of publicly smearing you in the way that you have falsely smeared Prosthesia Foundation with your innuendo about paedophilia, but just wanted to inform you, this is the guy that isn't blackmailing, just wanted to inform you that we have been apprised. He didn't spell appraised right, because he's angry. He's an angry man. He's an angry man. He's busy protecting children. Can't be doing with this.
He doesn't have time to proofread.
He's not got time
nonsense.
to deal with this shit of hiring paedophiles, sex offenders, whatever the fuck he was. I have been apprised of your unethical past. This is a solicitor. Gotta be careful with that shit. And that our future dealing with you would be guided accordingly. As my correspondence clearly outlined, my proposal was that we not engage in any further unproductive discussions about each other unless you were willing to remove the doxing material and to engage more respectfully henceforth. As you will have made it clear that you are not willing to do either, and that you cannot be convinced of the importance of conducting child sexual abuse prevention in a manner that is sex positive and upholds the human rights of all. Listen to the words. This will be our last communication public around. So, I've been appraised of your shocking behaviour in the past, but let's say no more about it. Of course, Sarah, if you know her, I don't know her terribly, but I know her sort of Twitter knows Sarah and the show. She responded to this as you'd expect. She won't fucking print it. Come on, do it. Never did. I wasn't going to mention them because I was going to try and get them on, for the pod, but fuck them. Fuck them. I can't abide them. They also believe, by the way, that child sex robots are a good idea, and that will stop people offending because, as we know, it's just about the fucking, right? Doesn't matter if it's a real kid.
Can I just clarify? Yeah. Are child sex robots a thing, or is this...
Oh, yeah, they're a thing. You get those sex dolls, those robot sex dolls?
In the UK?
Well, someone tried to import some and they were prevented.
That's the sort of thing they'd stop at the customs, is it? All right, cool.
Yeah, prevented.
Oh, well.
Because it's not going to be enough for a paedophile, is it? Oh, well. It's not going to be enough. And here's the thing, it's because paedophiles want romantic. I've had that said to me, and it fucking hurts physically. We can be romantic with children. It's not just about sex. I'm laughing because if I don't, I'm going to start fucking screaming. One of the proponents of this is a chap I've been tweeting on and off, Steve Diamond. He's on Twitter. He's got blogs out there in the wild where you can hear him speak. Quite slick is Steve, especially on Twitter. Doesn't want to get banned. He's one of the ones selling paedophilia as a, we're just born like that, we can't help it, it's just a sexual attraction, doesn't mean we'll act on it, yeah? He doesn't speak like that, I think he's American or some shit, I don't know, but he wants to normalise paedophilia as a sexual preference, and he says he's against child abuse. Many of the maps on Twitter say they are against child abuse. They're very firm on it, and do you know what? I believe them. But not in the way you might think. See, Steve's made clear off Twitter, wouldn't answer me on Twitter, because apparently he'd have got banned for it, so I answered it for him. See, what they believe is that not all sexual relationships between adults and children are actually abuse. They don't have to be abuse if it's mutually orgasmic, was what Steve said on one of them. Mutually orgasmic. Children. So they don't believe it has to be abuse. So what are all these responsible maps doing on Twitter? Are they supporting each other not to offend? Possibly. When I go and have a look, a lot of them are just sitting around chatting about their age of preference. Nothing makes you feel more confident in a human being than seeing them saying, I like it when they're about 4 years old. Now, 4-year-old kids, I mean, when my son was 4, he was brilliant. They're great. 4-year-olds are great. Not for fucking. Not for fucking. Not for a romantic relationship. But that's what they say. It's not abuse. So where the fuck has all this come from? Where has it come from that we're accepting pills and hearing this shit come back at us, that we've got to be age positive? Well, some of them have said that the best thing that ever happened to them was queer theory. I think from the early 90s. It's the best thing that happened because it really did open the door for them. The TRAs use it as well. Like kind of, the erosion of sex and the family unit and all of these sort of things. Get rid of them because everyone should just be fucking everyone. Although, one of the founders of queer theory was called Pat Khalifa. He's a little more specialist over most things. Pat started off life as a lesbian, transitioned to a man. I don't know. But he was one of the authors of queer theory, and he's quite committed to the cause of allowing adults and children to have sex. Khalifa claimed that in its refusal to accept NAMBLA and its movement, the adult gay community here has cut off its next generation. Maybe the adult gay community was just saying, we don't want to fuck kids, and we don't like people that fuck kids. Because gay people have had that stigma for a long fucking time. Gay people, or pedophiles and all that, they don't want that shit. Khalifa also said, and we've got Dr. M to thank for this as usual, Doc and Fluff, my recent science fiction novel, has been banned by some women's bookstores because it supposedly depicts a cross-generational lesbian relationship, and I've been attacked as an advocate of child molestation in the feminist press. How unfair! How unfair to say about someone that advocates for cross-generational relationships. Cross-generational. How could there be anything wrong with anybody that advocates for that? Khalifa apparently claimed that his feminist critics have characterized her as a pervert and an advocate of rape, battery, and child abuse. Imagine that. I mean, could be wrong, but if someone's always advocating that you should be allowed to fuck kids because kids want to fuck as well, I think it's fair to say you might be a wrong one. You might be a fucking bad one. But these are the people being listened to. These are the people. Be kind. That's this shit that's getting pushed. You'll notice a massive amount of K-pop stands and fucking anime avatars and all that shit. We'll swing around there in a bit. But if you don't believe me, or you're not familiar, if you're from the UK or Ireland, let's look a bit closer to home. In Ireland, those new sex education laws are trying to be pushed through about the things they'll teach them about, including good loving. And, Peter Tatchell's behind a lot of that. Now, Peter Tatchell is a gay man with no children who has a history of questioning whether it is abuse for children and adults to have sex. I'm not saying he's ever done it, but he's certainly mentioned it more than once that it's a possibility it could be okay. Governments are fucking listening to this man about what it's okay to teach your fucking kids. It's not alright. None of this shit is alright. I'm not suggesting we lock all these people up or anything, but for fuck's sake, don't listen to them. You don't take advice from them. Who the fuck lets Peter Tatchell tell them what they should do with their children? How many kids have you fucking got, Peter? You appeared in publications with people from the Paedophile Information Exchange. Fuck off. Even if you're not into that, you're dirtied by it. I don't want you saying what my kids should learn. Because all kids need to know is, hey, you know what? Be good to people. Be good to people as they're good to you. You know, and that's it. Treat everyone decently. That's all they need to know. When sex education as they get older, teach them the ins and outs and then let them go and find out some for themselves. But I don't think kids that are just entering high school, which by the way is about 11 years old, need to know about blowjobs and anal. I don't think they need to know these things. They'll figure this shit out for themselves like every other generation. This fascination with children enjoying sex is concerning to me. It's worrying to me, and I think we're going to a very, very dark place in society where we've got men demanding that women fucking kowtow to them and do as they're fucking told, and that's being supported by other men and women. We got people with dubious past telling us what sex education should be. Queer theory runs throughout this whole fucking mess. Nobody in their right mind would follow that shit. This is fucking evil. It is being enabled. And as I've said before, I'm sure there are some of these maps who would never offend, who can't offend, it kills them. But you know what? Like I said before, fuck them, fuck their feelings. I don't care about them. Sit at home, keep your shit tight, go to support groups, do what you got to do. Get the fuck off social media where there are children. Or if you're going to be on there, don't sit around fucking talking about normalizing paedophilia all fucking day. Luckily, Twitter isn't real life, but it does fucking spill out, and we're seeing it time and time again with ridiculous legislation, ridiculous fucking rules. Can't say this. These fucking hate law things have gone insane. If you make a tweet someone doesn't like and they report it as a hate crime, even if the police say it isn't hate, it stays on your fucking record. I've got to check mine.
Yeah, I keep meaning to have a look at that as well.
I'll be very disappointed if I don't have anything.
Your non-crime hate incident.
I want some non-crime hate incidents. If I keep talking about subjects like this, I'm going to fucking have some as well. And this is where we are. It's fucking filthy. It's fucking disgusting. And it should not be happening. Now,